I promise. Sandra Reemer competed for the Netherlands 3 times, twice solo and once together with Andres, originally Dries Holten, during the 70s. How did everything start for her? How many more attempts did she make to reach our beloved contest? What happened with her career in her home country, and what kind of person was she? Sandra Reemer sadly passed away in 2017, so instead I have invited her younger brother, Frenk Reemer, who is currently working on a book about the Reemer family and was very close with his sister throughout her life. And maybe next year will become a Eurovision legend himself. He and his relatives have been so kind and given me full access to her material, with demos and other hidden gems, and you will hear some of these treasures in this episode. As always, I'm your host, Emil Löfström, and this is Eurovision Legends. Welcome to Eurovision Legends, Frenk Reemer.
Thank you very much, Emil. Glad to be on the show.
First and foremost, I'm extremely grateful that you were willing to record this episode and remember your sister together with me and my listeners.
Yes, well, I think it is an honor that befalls me to be in your show and telling about my sister, because she was a singer of international quality.
Yeah.
That is really what I think that she is. And perhaps Holland was probably too small for her, or also in her later career. But, well, that's just me talking, huh?
I totally agree about her abilities. And it was Sandra's old agent, actually, Rick, who advised me to contact you, since he thought you would be the perfect person for this, as I understand that you and your sister were very close.
Yes, we started music together in the 60s of the last century, and we started singing and doing all kinds of local song festivals. Now you have The Voice and the X Factor, that shows like that. But in the 60s, there wasn't hardly any television. So they had that in little song contests locally in villages around the place where we lived.
Yeah.
And so we went there with my father and his 2 children, 10 and 8 years old in that time. And we won 2 third places, 3 second places, and 11 first places. And then in 63, she was discovered or picked up by Phonogram and made her first single.
I thought that was in 1962.
It could be 1962 also.
We'll listen to her first single, Al Di La.
Okay, Al Di La, yes.
Al di la, ver weg van elektronen in de zon. Al di la en de fonteinen dromen in de zon. Nam de wind me maar mee op die wolk boven zee. Ik zou blij zijn, net zo blij. Al die la, net zo blij als jij. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Al die la.
If we take the Cliff Notes version of her biography, she was born as Barbara Alexandra Reemer in a local hospital in Indonesia as the first child, and got called Sandra, spelled with an X.
No, this is not what I know. But I could be wrong.
Because I checked this on her homepage.
Yes. What I think is that the information from Indonesia, as far as I know, she was just Barbara Alexandra Reemer, called Sandra. But this could be, of course, what do you have in the show business is marketing, of course.
Yeah.
And before Colorado, I am not sure, but this could be, it's nice that you can come up with this, because this could be a change of her image.
Yeah.
They said, well, okay, if this is like this, then Sandra and Andres, that those periods are over. So we make a new beginning, and let us get to a different image of this artist, of this person. Well, you have an X in your name. Sandra with an X it looks correctly. Well, we will do that. And then you have to take care of the fundaments of that kind of things. Well, that might have happened.
Okay. During the 50s, she and your family had to leave Indonesia because your family had a Dutch nationality. And the Dutch colonial history made Indonesia decide to get rid of all the Dutch people.
Yep.
Do you have any memories of this? Or can you tell us anything about this?
Yes, I can. The Indonesian people said, well, we have defeated together the Japan. That's okay. But now we would like to have our own country back, please.
Yeah.
So they were right, of course. My father was born in Indonesia, my mother also. But they were born from Dutch military people. My grandmother on mother's side is a real Javanese woman. And my grandmother on father's side was a real Chinese woman. So that's why we have this lighter skin, I think. We lived in a place called Bandung, which is now a very nice place in Indonesia. And, for instance, we lived in a beautiful house with, people who lived in the house as servants. And from our garden over the road, which was just a sandy thing, then you were in what we call the kampung. And the people with no money lived there, generally more Indonesian people. And what I remember very, very vividly is, this flying flies with bioluminescence, like little lamps flying. That's what I recall. What I also remember is March 1958 that we arrived in Rotterdam with the boat Willem Ruys. And later on, that boat was called Aquilo Laure. And that boat was suddenly famous because it was used in political things by the PLO, I think. Yeah. And they seized that boat, etc. And another time later, that boat is sunk near the Mauritania, Maldives, somewhere like there. But on that boat, we came in Holland in March 1958, and it snowed that day. And we stood there and said, wow, this is very strange. So that's what I recall. And I also remember the hotel where we were put as a family in a village called Sint Michiels Gestel. Don't even try. But
I promise.
And those were people who took care of us. And we lived there for about a year. In the meantime, the house where we would live in Sint Michiels Gestel was built. Those were nice times, really.
Sandra started her music career early in life, and if Google is correct, she was only 12 years old when the first single got released, titled Aldila, that we listened to before. How did everything start?
The southern part of Holland, where we lived, is religious, right? Yep. And so a church must be built. And my father, he's always been very, very religious. And he said, well, okay, I will help you gather money in the village where we lived to raise money to build a church. Yeah. And he made a song festival or a music festival. And he asked Sandra and me to sing, and some children from the neighborhood. So that is the real start of the singing on that wooden podium where perhaps 100 people from the village were gathered, and where things were sold, what you find in your attic or in your shed, and to raise money. And those children of the neighborhood would sing some songs.
Yeah.
That was the inclination. That was why we were there. And that proceeded. That went on and on and on. And in that time, there were little festivals locally, and we joined them. And there we won all the prizes.
Yeah.
And those awards I still have. And, there is a recording from the last contest that we were in, Sandra and I. And this guy, I'll send you this. I will send you this, really. It is a real bad recording because it's 1963, I think.
En nu krijgen we dan de eerste prijs. Vocaal is voor Sandra en Frankie uit Sint-Michiels-Gestel. Sandra en Frankie.
That was the last thing that we did, and after that we were discovered.
Yeah.
And we were called Sandra and Frankie. Yep, that's what it is. But everyone in our home and the family always called me Frank, and Sandra just Sandra.
And you released some songs, and I guess they were in Indonesian?
Yes, because my father was prone to get some things back to the family in Indonesia. So he tried to make Rini Geveke, if I'm correct, and she was the producer at Phonogram, to record an EP, as it was called. It was larger than the single. And we sung on that thing with the same children from the neighborhood that we did a few years before that on this church building raft.
Yeah.
Di mana mau mancing ikan, mancing ikan, mancing ikan. Di mana mau mancing ikan, laut terlalu jauh. Ikan lele ada di kali, ada di kali, ada di kali. Ikan lele ada di kali, kali lumpur yang bau.
Sandra, you see those pictures of little girls with something in their hand that impersonates a singer. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what Sandra did. Yeah. So my father built a guitar for her.
I know.
Yes, I still have that guitar because that guitar was eventually, let's say 30 years ago, given to me because Sandra said, I didn't want to have that guitar because I couldn't work with that. And so I was 8 years then. I have learned to play the guitar. And that is the reason that I got into the music. Then the other things came also. And we had this Rudy Karel, and he was very famous in Holland in the early 60s. And he was a stand-up comedian-like guy. And he moved to Germany and became really famous there. But he started in Holland, and he had a show, and on that show, Sandra and I were there, of course. And Sandra did the Aldila song, and I did Summertime of Gershwin, and that was 63. And that means that Google could be right after all.
If we move forward to the 70s, she participated in Eurovision for the Netherlands 3 times during the 70s. It was 1972, 76 and 79. And before we dig into those years, I wonder if you know if she made her first attempt at the pre-selection in Netherlands in 1970.
Yes, but really from far, I think. I know that she went to Knokke in Belgium, but this is all very vague to me. I was, by that time myself trying to get my chemistry studies, in order. I know there was this pre-selection thing. I know, but I really don't know anything about that.
The song she competed with in 1970 was titled Voorbij is de winter.
Oh.
Were the pronunciation okay?
Voorbij is de winter.
Ja.
Verlang van mij niet dat ik lieg, er valt voor jou niets meer te vragen. Zolang ik wist dat jij een ander had, heb ik gedaan alzo. Probeer maar niet, het lukt je niet, ik hoef me niet meer te verlachen. Al was ik niet erin, misschien is het nog erger. Vlak staat stil, de tijd gaat verder. Als ik omkijk, zie ik het vuur dat mij verteert. De zuidenwind waait, voorbij is de winter. De storm ligt op, het licht en in de ruwe zee. Die wordt weer als het bij is.
0 points and a last place together with 3 other participants, and the song never got released. Do you know if there exists a studio version of the song?
Oh, I don't know. I have not heard it, but I have about 200 gig, all the recordings that were ever made and all the television shows that you has ever done. So perhaps it is somewhere there, but we never looked for the things like these very, very, very early recordings. So it might be there, Emil. I'm not sure, but I will go and look. Let me make a little note about that.
Yep.
Good.
2 years later, 3 songs competed in the Dutch pre-selection, and Sandra sang them all together with Andres, originally Dries Holten, that she had formed a duo with. How come they formed this duo?
Dries, had followed us since 66. He was an accomplished show guy already. He had a band, the New Five, something like that. And he was interested in what those other guys from Indonesia were doing, and they were so young.
Yeah.
Because he's 16 years older than Sandra is. Yeah. So when Sandra was 17, he was 31, something like that. And he was really accomplished. He had the beautiful car, he had the beautiful clothes, he was going on. And he knew Hans van Hemert.
Yep.
Which would be the producer. And they were friends. The idea was from Hans, I think, the idea was, let's join together. Can you do something with Sandra? Can Sandra do something with you? Are your voices compatible enough? Things like that. And they tried some things. That was in my parting year, that like say 67. Yeah. Then Sandra and I were already performing a lot, and I was phased out because for me there was no path by my parents to go into the show business. So I should become a doctor. So it's no problem for me. It's okay. And they hooked up. Yeah. And tried things. And then, this is a story no one has ever heard before. Sandra, 17, must finish her HBS, which is, let's say, a good school. And she was also a little annoyed, as I recall. And to get this, this eager young woman who wants to sing and wants to get out, they said, well, I have a song from somewhere, Hans said, and maybe we can do that. Okay, then that Sandra can go in the studio, then it will be a little calm around her, right?
Yeah.
So they did. And the song that Hans had was Storybook Children.
Oh, and that became a top 10 hit.
Yes, but only after a year, because it was recorded in 68.
Yeah.
Eventually, and only in 69 it really boomed. And, well, the rest is history. But that is how it started.
Why can't we be like storybook children? Why can't we
if we go back to the pre-selection in 1972, there are three songs competed.
Yep.
Als het om de liefde gaat.
Yeah, als het om de liefde gaat.
This is great because I say them and then you can correct them. And I cut off myself.
Okay.
Na 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 na, wat zal ik er doen om nog vandaag van jou te zijn? Na 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 na, wat zal je doen om nog vandaag van mij te zijn?
The oude zigeuner.
De oude zigeuner.
Yep.
La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Zigeunermelodie zit vol melancholie. Hij speelt op zijn viool. Zigeunerdromen. Speel voor mij, oude zigeuner. Zing voor mij die mooie melodie. Neem me mee, oude zigeuner. Laat me dansen, laat me dromen met jouw fantasie. La 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 la.
And lang så fin niet. You know what? I've talked Hebrew and I have talked Croatian in this podcast, and everyone always says, "Oh my God, your pronunciation is so good." But when it comes to Dutch, worthless.
It sounds so weird. Not per se your pronunciation, but Dutch in general, right?
Oof, okay.
Oh, okay.
Het is maar goed dat wij het zo zien. Een beetje veel, anders was het misschien de langste pijn niet. De langste pijn niet.
Met z'n tweeën is alles leuker.
Want alleen is maar alleen. En langste pijn niet. En langste pijn niet. Langste pijn.
Well, those three songs were written by Dries and Hans. And, well, the story goes... there is, of course, a daughter of Dries.
Yes.
Astrid. That is a very, very, very good friend of mine. And she told me that in this particular case, Sandra was not particularly amused. And so they had played the three songs for her. And Sandra said, well, then we should do the oude zigeuner, the old gypsy. And they voted
Yeah.
to do the Als het om de liefde gaat because it was far more commercial. And the Astrid said to me, well, Sandra said, well, okay, it is the best of the three worthless songs.
But do you think she changed her opinion about the song later in life?
Well, it could very well be, because Sandra is, of course, a performing artist, and you need your audience to get by, right? So you have to earn some money, of course.
Yeah.
And that is the difference between the musical interest that Sandra had and that I had. Because I did not, well, I would like to do something that could sell, right?
Yeah.
But I would not make something per se commercial out front. I would try to make something that I would like. And if the people would like it, it was great with me. If not, that's okay. But that's why I went into the automation ICT world.
Yeah.
And she was looking for commercial songs, and together with Dries and Hans, and I was looking for songs that had some artistic meaning, quote unquote. And so we would. That was a nice conversation from time to time.
The contest in 1972 was held in Edinburgh in the United Kingdom. Do you know any details from that year and what happened there? Have she told you anything about it?
No. I really don't know, because they were so busy. What I know from that period of time, like the 1970 to 74, I guess, they were really peaking. So they had like 35 performances per month. So they did sometimes 3 performances on a day. And this was in the 1970s, right? So they were really, really, really busy. There was no time for any, normal relationship in family-like atmospheres.
Yeah.
Not done.
Vicky Leandros with Après Toi won for Luxembourg.
Après toi, je ne pourrai plus vivre, non plus vivre qu'en souvenir de toi.
The New Seekers with the song Beg, Steal or Borrow came second for the United Kingdom.
You know I'll beg, steal or borrow to give you sunny days, and in 100 ways I'll bring you love.
And Marie Rose from West Germany, third, with only 1 point more than Sandra and Andres.
Nur die Liebe lässt uns leben, Tage im hellen Sonnenschein. Kann nur sie allein uns geben, nur beliebt wird niemals einsam sein.
I usually ask my guests what they think about the result, and especially the top 3. So I'm asking you, do you have any opinions about the result?
Yes, I have. Of course, I'm a little biased, okay?
That's okay.
But Vicky Leandros, wonderful, clear voice, nice performance, and I think that my parents loved that also. So it was a bit, an awkward situation. Yeah, we would like to have Sandra and Dries won the thing, of course, but Vicky Leandros was a very good contender. So
Yeah.
If you have just this subject, then you see that as a family, you had this queer dynamics. The winner was a good winner. Yeah, but you are my child. I would like to have you won. And that is a very good instance of what I'm trying to convey in my book. But we didn't talk about that yet.
But we will.
But this is a good instance of it, right? This is a very good example of how things can, within the walls of the family, there is something different going on than in the outside world. So there you are, in Holland, you were practically the conquerors of that, because you had the 4th place. Well, that is very nice, etc., etc. And even more performances came out of that.
Yeah.
And they were invited to Japan and to Chile or whatever, all kinds of contests that they did. But in the house, if you're not the number 1, you are just the loser. But if the contenders are really good, like Vicky Leandros, it's so complex. It is a complex situation.
They recorded the song in Dutch, English, French, and German.
Now it can't be true that you ask me what you're to do.
Hey, why don't you say you love me? It's easy for a star.
Moi le voile et la fleur d'oranger. La 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 la, c'est pour demain. On va enfin se marier. Ach, was hat man für Probleme, wenn man sich verliebt? Man schläft beinahe keine Nacht.
Ja, da gibt es viele Dinge, die...
And It became minor hits in several countries and with cover versions in native languages with other singers as well.
Yes, yeah.
Na 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 na, c'est pour demain. On va dire oui au vieux curé.
Dok smo bez problema, prijatelja roj, dok smo srećne, velikih je broj. Parudbe na zajam, kad zatražimo mi, u mišju rupu beže svi.
Jeg vil have en minkpels, som den list taler har, og en dyr og lækker jaguar.
Og jeg vil have en flyvogn, en båd og et hus, og leve i sus og dus.
Dovoljno je reći da me ljubiš ti, jer da volim tebe znaju svi.
Hey, why don't you say you love me? It's easy for a start.
Why don't you try to steal my heart?
Yhden kerran mä vain sun eilen tanssin hain.
Oudon tunteen tunsin rinnassaan. So geht es mir mit dir. Ich fürchte mich so sehr, dass ich dich eines Tages verliere. Hey!
During the years 1968 to 1975, Sandra and Andres had a successful career together and released nearly 30 singles in Dutch, English, French, German, and Spanish.
Yep.
Why did they split?
Why did they split? Yeah, there's of course the diplomatic answer, and there is the political answer. Neither of them will cover the truth, of course.
What do you think then?
I think that if you are working together so intensively as they had, then your connection wears out. You will gradually know things of the other that are not particularly in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So the friendship dries out. And I think that is what happened. Yeah, I really don't know if this is the truth, but this is what I find when I go back to that period in time. Yeah, because they were on the very summit of their being famous.
Yeah. But did they stay friends later in life?
Yes, I have to rely on Astrid with her information for this.
Yeah.
They were friends, and but there was a gap of let's say 15 years or something, and after that they just picked it up again. But as a family, so the other 4 children, my other brother and my 2 sisters, didn't know that.
Okay.
So that was a little shielded off. Oh, but that could be because those other children are all academics.
Yeah.
See, so we had all our own lives and marriages and things and children and etc. So yeah, it's not really strange that we didn't know. But now, with hindsight, I would have liked to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody rise and raise your glasses in a toast. Here's to auntie, here's to auntie.
We grown up people now, but still we say
It's you who showed us how and led the way. And so we thank you, auntie, of renown, and let you know that we shall never let you down. La 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 la. It's you who showed us how and led the way. And so we thank you, auntie of renown, and let you know that we shall never let you down.
The year after the split, Sandra took part in the pre-selection to Eurovision again in the Netherlands. Do you know if the song "The Party's Over Now" was written especially for her?
Yes, I think Hans van Hemert had to write something specifically for this, and of course Hans knows what Sandra's voice can do. And I think in that context you could say, well, this is written to the voice and to the capacities of Sandra by the composer in this case. And that's Harry van Hoof was also one of the guys who were into this because he made arrangements of the orchestra, of course, and that's in that time. But I think you could say that Hans made the song with the voice and the performance capacities of Sandra in mind. If it was really dedicated to her, it's a different question, of course. I don't think that is the case, but he made something apt for her.
Party's over now, the party's over now. At least that dream is over now. You're sitting next to me, and we do both agree our life ain't bad at all. Yes, the party's over now. One of those bad dreams suddenly came over me, but now I feel at ease.
This was his third attempt in Eurovision since he composed the song I See a Star that Martha MacNeal competed with in 1974 as well.
Yeah.
Sandra was never offered to sing that song.
I don't know. In 74, they were, I think, in somewhere in the world, being busy with being Sandra and Andres. That's what I think, because perhaps they were asked, and they said, "Well, we are working now, so many times, so it's not necessary to join in again."
Well, if you find a demo version of I See a Star in the dungeon, you can contact me.
Okay.
Ik zie het ster, hij staat nog ver, maar strakjes komt hij dichterbij.
The pre-selection in 1976 was held in The Hague, and by a margin of 5 points, she beat Boland and Boland with the song Souvenir and got to represent her country on home soil, since Teach In and Ding Dong had brought the contest home to the Netherlands and The Hague, and to the same arena as the pre-selection was held.
Yeah.
And a funny nerd fact is that Boland and Boland, who got second place, later became the composers of her song in 1979, Colorado.
Yeah, because if you are, of course, on stage, Autumn, and you are Sandra and he is Ferdy, then electricity was there.
Yeah.
So the whole city lighted up. And then after that they got married and then, well, so.
Souvenir of a love, that souvenir d'amour, souvenir of love that's gone by.
And another nerd fact is that her former duet partner, Anders, competed in this pre-selection with his new partner, Rosie.
Rosie. Yeah, Rosie.
And they finished second to last with their song. What do you know about your participation in Eurovision 1976?
Not much, I'm afraid, because 76 was for Sandra like she had to start over as a solo artist. But I really do not have very many details on that. I'm sorry.
No worry. United Kingdom with Brotherhood of Man won.
Kisses for me, save all your kisses for me. Bye bye, baby, bye bye.
Catherine Ferry for France got second place.
Fais-moi rêver comédien, chante dans ce baladin, dans la ronde folle, entraînez-moi, salut.
And third ended Monaco with Mary Christie.
Si tu veux, nous vivrons toi, la musique et moi, simplement toi, la musique et moi, la musique et moi, la musique et moi.
Your sister, Sandra, for the Netherlands, ended 9th. Do you know if this was a disappointment for her?
Yeah, I think what I recall was she was sad because she had expected more, because the song was a very, very good song.
Yeah.
And it still is, I think.
Yeah.
And it reminds you a little bit of Those Were the Days. And so there's a very good song to perform. And Sandra could sing this very beautifully. Yeah, well, you know. So I think that the expectations were a little bit higher. And it was sad that it was only the 9th place. Yeah, but okay, what can you do?
The song was released in several countries, and she recorded the song in English and French.
Un souvenir en trop, un mauvais scénario peut démolir tout un roman. L'histoire serait jolie si elle avait fini un peu plus brillamment. J'ai un souvenir en trop, je t'en remets.
And the song has been covered in several languages by other artists.
An alles kontinent som man slapp ytre plänt, dit finns ligger door te gaan. Stilla England going cha-cha-cha, hold in recht.
And this song became her biggest hit in the Netherlands.
Yep.
Is it still played on the radio?
Well, this is, I'm not sure if we can do this in the podcast, but I do not have a radio.
I see. But do you know if it has become an evergreen in the Netherlands?
I think so. I think that there is I think an interview that Sandra gave that she said, she was in Berlin, I guess. So, whatever. That she said, I made a medley of all the songs, and even for the younger people that she sang for, they could really sing along with her because the song was so easy to pick up.
Yeah,
perhaps,
yeah,
but also, she said, well, this is really what you would like to experience as an artist, that people remember your song.
Yeah.
And, she was very, if it is an evergreen by that reason, I'm not sure, but I think, I'm sure that a lot of people in Holland know, yes.
That year, 1976, I know you made a song titled Careless Love.
Yes,
That your
Careless.
sister Sandra sang the demo of. Please tell us the story about this song.
Well, if love is careless, then you might wonder what kind of love you are having. And I was in that time seeking my own path in life. I thought, growing older, I can see the shadows of my thoughts. That is the first sentence I came up with. Because I thought, well, if you go through this period of this reflective period, then you can perhaps find another way to hope, another way to getting your life on track, etc. That happened for me in that very strange time. And that is why love can be careless. So that is the reason why I wrote the song. It is a little bit a cryptical lyrics, I think, but Sandra liked the melody. So we made this demo. And then this demo was lost in time.
But you find it.
I found it back. So that tape, that cassette was in a box during several, I moved because I divorced. And in the 90s, 25 years later, I found back that cassette. I listened to it. Wow. I still have that song. How incredible. Yeah. So that is why the quality of the song is so bad. But it is a real song by Sandra, and nobody has ever heard this before. And the nicest thing about this, of course, is that Justin, that's really the only nephew that she had who has singing capacities. Mm. They would try and record the song. And in 2016, Justin called me and he said, Pa, can you prepare recordings? Because beginning of next year, we can make a first demo with a version that Sandra and I will sing. Okay. So I started preparations for that. And then in December of 2016, Sandra told us that she was really ill. Yeah. And so the recording could not go through.
We listened to the version from 1976 and the later version recorded with your son, Justin's vocal.
Okay, I like that.
Growing older, I could see the shadows of my thoughts. Far too late to think again. I passed all I was taught. Suddenly I feel your eye, bound to understand. Drops a tear of a sad goodbye, reflection of your mind. Pray for lightning on the rose I set down on the bank. Maybe though I'd never find again a lover's hand. Could you show your face once more, mirror of my time? Now I leave you here and cry forever days of life. Careless love, stored away to questions high above. Must I find no answers or careless love, feel the anxious moments, don't be wrong. Close the madness, frozen.
I pray for lightning, thunderstorms. I am in desert land. Maybe I shall never find again a lover's hand. Can you show your face once more, mirrored in my time? Then I'll leave you here to rest. Forever days are blind. Careless love, feel your anxious moments, feel today that love will leave an empty space and play.
So on her remembrance thing, he has sung this with me. After that, because all the people from the Dutch show business were on this castle here in nearby, and very many of those people got to Justin and say, "Wow, you just sound like your aunt." Well, that is the start of the Reemer Cube, as we call it, because my older son, Timme, is a producer. He makes the tapes, and I'm making the songs, and Justin is singing them. So that is the act that we have put together since then. But we did not really go out, of course. It was just nice to be together, father, two sons.
Yeah.
I have a great time with those two kids.
I did some research, and I saw that you had a minor career as a singer yourself, too, during the 70s.
Yes.
You
I did.
released some singles.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Titled Morning, Portray, and Sometimes.
Oh, that's a very long time ago. Oh, this is very nice. There's this guy, and his name is John Fish, and he was a very big management, artist management bureau. And he really liked the ideas that I had to make songs on the basis of classical music. And he gave me a lot of money to make this album. And after 6 songs only, I ran out of money. So we had the first picture LP, I think, in the Netherlands, in the world perhaps, because it was issued in '76, I guess. And so there was only 6 songs, because for 1 bar of music, I invited 9 trumpets, trombones, things like that, just to make 1 chord with all those instruments. Gone.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, go away. So that was not really efficient, economically. And one of the songs of that album, of that half album, was released as a single, and I had 1 television performance for that in Top Pop. But for me, being an artist was not the same as what Sandra experienced. If you are a podium person, then you need the audience, because it will feed you. But that is not what I was aiming for. I was just making music because I thought, what happens if you put that note there instead of there? That was more, my approach was really different.
We listened to some of your songs from the 70s.
Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. Oh.
Sometimes I close my eyes to see you stand before me. I'm dreaming away. Listen, I must tell you this story. You are the only one for me. All days in my life, all nights as my life. Stay with me.
In 1979, Sandra, this time spelled with an X instead of an S, got the honor to perform all the 5 competing songs in the Dutch pre-selection. And the songs were in order: Lieveling, Lila Lavendel, Intercity, Far ben je heen,
Far ben je heen.
and Colorado. Thank God for that, some English titles here.
Lieveling, kom met me dansen in de kring. Lieveling, maak muziek en zing. Lieveling, lila lavendel, een zoemende berg. Bloemen in de weg, allemaal dromen. Jij en ik door het weideland, samen in een coupé. Weet je nog, mijn liefste, hoe we zwegen, alle twee. Waar ben je heen? Ik voel me zo alleen. Waar ben je heen? Oh, waar ben je heen? De rivieren zitten vol vis, met een wilde beer op de foto. Colorado, Colorado. Oh, Colorado.
Do you remember the songs, Frank?
No, I only remember Colorado, of course. And I remember the image change.
Yep.
But she said, well, I'm going to call myself X Andra. And I said, well, excuse me. Excuse me. Are you trying to sell Coca-Cola in a different bottle? You will not sell anything anymore, right? And I do not agree with you. That's okay.
And what did you thought about your opinion?
Nothing. She was not impressed at all. She was always interested in the things that I said.
Yeah.
I'm really sure about that.
Yeah.
But she would not. Well, she had a different idea. And what we were taught by father and mother, if people are different, that is okay. Be glad that they are not like you. So you have to respect another being,
Absolutely.
another person, that is how we were educated and informed and we grew up with mom and dad. So that was so we had that between the children also.
Colorado won big in the Netherlands with and nearly got 100 points more than the songs that got second. And this time the trip went to Israel.
Yep.
Had she told you anything about Jerusalem?
Yes, because in just years later, 1995, 96, whatever, I went there and tried to follow her path. And that was the same path that everyone followed, though. Because that was the path that Jesus did.
Yeah.
But she was very impressed. She was very impressed of Jerusalem and the history that was there, because we were very religious, of course.
Yeah.
Our father and mother very religious, so we were really into what this Jesus guy was doing.
Yep.
And we had to go to church, of course. Yeah. our father had built it himself or helped raise the money to build it. So we had to go to church. And in 1966, 67, something like that, in the midst of the youth revolution and the sexual revolution that there was in the world, we went to our dad and said, "Pa, we will not go to church anymore." Ooh. Oh, this was, a bomb. But being in his conviction that people are people that you have to respect, his answer was, "Okay, if this is your choice."
What a lovely father you had. What a lovely father. Yeah.
Yes. So there was not strong word used in that epic moment. So we did that together, for instance. Yeah. And I went one step further. I went to the how do you call that? Where you are in a village or in a town, you have these registers of all the people who live there. Yeah. And in that time, it was also noted what kind of religion you had.
Yes, yeah.
And I went there in St. Michiel's Gestel, and I said, "Can you erase that for me, please?" And they did. But Sandra was not erased from that register, so that's okay also, of course. Yeah. That was the Jerusalem thing, because it was a very important thing in the family, and she was very impressed by the walk that this Christ had done, and so I copied that with another tourist group. Yep. But the intention was nice, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. 1979 was a very strong year in Eurovision, and many songs became great hits around the world after the competition. I'm thinking of the winner, of course, Hallelujah, and Genghis Khan from Germany, who ended fourth. Disco Tango from Denmark that ended sixth. Disco Tango I've got my and the song that strangely only ended in a 12th place, Colorado.
Colorado, yeah.
This song still became a top 5 hit in 8 different countries. Why do you think the song Colorado didn't place better in Eurovision?
Could there be a Sandra fatigue? I'm looking upwards now and I say, "Sorry, Sandra." No, but I don't know, because what happens is if you look at the songs that really won in that time, the festival was not politicized so very much, right? Yep. So when Germany came with this Genghis Khan, that was a real feat. This was added to what performances do. That was different, and by being different, it could make an honest chance. Whereas, if you look at that way, and who was the winner again for the 1979 thing?
Hallelujah, Israel.
Hallelujah, that was Hallelujah. Yeah, it is a song that is a little strange, isn't it? So you have if you pick Colorado, which is a nice song, no doubt about that, very well written. Yeah. Original, but the concept of the song is, of course, very old-fashioned. It is the verse and the chorus. Yeah. Whilst Hallelujah had this different approach. It had a verse and a chorus, but it had a little different thing about that. And if I remember well, the chorus burst out in 3 voices. Yeah. With an harmony, which is very, very nice. And some of the harmonies were a little daring. That's what I remember of that song. So I think if you put those two together, then you say, well, there is the newer view on how songs could be written. Yeah. There is a newer way of how you put things on stage, like Genghis Khan. And so what I think Finland had some roots in this thinking. How can I change the way I stand on a podium, on a stage to convey my message? And then you have something that is in quality of singing perfect, Sandra, with a very nice song, Colorado. Yeah. And I think that perhaps only the nice song and the perfect performance was not enough. That could be, but you can't say really.
No, of course not. But we can speculate.
We can speculate, yes, and we can learn in speculating. You can also learn what you should be doing, what you should not be doing, and find a new way to come to other insights in how to make something for this. If you would compete, if you would try to get on that stage, you have to think of something that is different but recognizable.
Yeah.
And that's of course very hard to do, but
she recorded Colorado in Dutch, English and German, and as usual, singers around Europe covered the song in their native languages as well.
Yes.
I remember from my chat with Kobi Oshrat, the composer of the winning song Hallelujah, that he fell in love with your sister during that week. Did she tell you anything about this or anything else from behind the scenes from the week in Jerusalem?
No. Oh. Now I hear this. Well, maybe she was not only revered by and impressed by the Jerusalem historical thing, but also a more, more secretive
maybe
endeavor. Yeah, one would never know, of course. She did not tell me. Another story was that she fell in love with Stephen Stills, of course, from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. He was in Holland in 72, 73, I don't know. So she sent me to have a chat with this guy, Mr. Stills. Mm-hmm. And I did met him in the Concertgebouw. And he only said, wow, far out, man. He was really high in the sky, whilst with two feet on the ground. And eventually she learned that he was with Véronique Chanson, the French singer, and she was so angry with her, really. She was really angry with Véronique Chanson. She never had met this girl, of course, but this is Hell Has No Fury than a woman. So that was this.
During this week, Kobi Oshrat got an offer from the manager and fifth member of the Swedish group ABBA, Stickan Andersson, who was on site in Israel, and wanted to contract him as a composer. Sadly, Kobi Oshrat didn't notice that the slightly worn and drunk man was the powerful manager of ABBA, so he never replied. And why I am bringing this up is because I know that Stickan Andersson's personal favorite was the song Colorado. So I wonder if you know if he offered her something too.
I don't know that. Because if Sandra would have known this, or if someone in her entourage would have known this, then I would certainly have known this. Because the things that in that era, I said, we were both in our 30s and 20s, begin 30s, and so everything is vibrant. Life is getting to you, right? So we had a lot of contact in that period of time. Certainly, and I would have known this, but no, I do not recall anything about Mr. Andersson.
Okay. Well, in any way, this became her last time in Eurovision as a lead singer, but she did back up for Bernadette in 1983 in Munich behind the song Sing Me a Song.
Yep.
But I guess she didn't tell you anything about Munich.
Nope.
But do you know if she made any more attempts to compete in Eurovision after 1979?
No. So what I know is that she thought, well, this was done. She had the feeling that while she was, normally you go, this is my interpretation. Normally you go for a competition and then you end number 10.
Yeah.
The second time you do that, you end number 5, and then you end as the winner, right? That is the normal flow. Yeah. In her case, I think she went from 4 to 9 to 12.
Yeah.
So she must have had the thought that this was not the way to go. And that might have induced her television career. So that she thought, well, as a singer, this is not a path that I should pursue further. Perhaps there is another part of me that as an artist can evolve now. And that could be the television shows. And a matter of fact, in 84, she had her first show that she presented.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Because I think it's always very hard. My products in the ICT world, if they were good, then I could earn a lot of money with it. If I made something that was not good, I just threw it away. It had nothing to do with me as being Frenk Reemer.
Yeah, yeah.
If you are an artist and you are Sandra Reemer and you put yourself as a product on the stage and your audience do not buy you as a product, then you as a human being will be affected by that also. And I think that is the hardest part of being an artist, that you as a human being are your own product. So that is what will make you cautious, frustrated, sad. All those terms are prone, lying in waiting for you if your audience finds another product.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Sandra is the only one who has suffered from this.
No, of course not. No.
But this is what it is in this trade.
But what about you then? Haven't you made any attempts to reach Eurovision?
Yes.
Please elaborate.
Well, after the last Eurovision that we had, right, here in Rotterdam.
Yep.
A phenomenal
gorgeous show, I must say.
Phenomenal show, really. But when listening to those songs, I thought, and together with Justin and Timme, we said, well, why is this all quote unquote the same? And Justin said, well, can you try and find other notes that make this a little bit different? We were just playing around a bit here in the television or in the Zoom thing that we had. And then I remembered I wrote a song for a soprano in 70 or whatever, a long time ago. 75, must be 76, around that course. 70. I said, well, I have this song. It goes like, and he said, oh yeah, I remember that because Muriel, one of my spouse's ex, was a soprano and could sing that song. And I said, well, I'll try to work on that. So I did.
Yeah.
And when it was finished, I said, well, if you can come and try and record this here in the landing studio. And we thought, well, this could be a very nice thing. Shall we try and put it in to the committee?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we did.
Yes. And what happened?
We got a mail. Thank you for sending this in. We have received it in good order. Bye. And then 2 days later, it was, dear Frank, we have listened to the song. We like it. We'll have you on a different heap. And if you want to issue the song before March 2022, can you inform us? So I thought I forwarded, of course, to Justin and Timme and Lara, who wrote the text. And I said, well, guys, we are in. I don't know, but we are in now. Okay.
Yeah.
We're very happy, but we know nothing from this point on. So it is waiting for what the committee wants to do, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to seek out the right person or persons to bring this to the stage in Rome.
Yeah.
Well, we have to wait and see. Emil?
Well, we cross our fingers for you.
Yes, thank you. We need that.
From LA to New York, from New York to
In the early 2000s, she teamed up with the two other Eurovision legends, Marga Bult and Maggie MacNeal, under the name Dutch Divas. And they quickly established themselves as a popular live act, particularly with the Dutch gay community.
Yes.
The city life, a fashion life, busy streets and fancy cars, booze and rocks and all the crowds, everyone's a shining star. It's so inviting to my eyes that I can only be surprised by all that sound and ecstasy. I thought all this was meant for me, but was it really meant for me? I'm a star in New York, I'm a star in LA. In my life there's no place for the man that I love, 'cause I'm living my life just to sing and be free. From LA to New York, from New York to LA. From New York to LA.
Would you say that she was a gay icon in the Netherlands?
Oh yes, definitely yes. And since we were brought up, as I told you before, as respecting other people's and not looking, not finding things about how someone is or what is gender, whatever it is, she was also open to other interests in life. And that was received very well with the gay community. And as you know, the Eurovision Song Contest is also very appreciated by the gay community internationally.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that was just a one-on-one match.
Yeah.
And well, apart from that, she was a very nice person. It is.
Yeah.
And then she can really convey her feelings through her songs. So I think. Yeah, it was a very nice thing. And the Dutch Divas as an act were, of course, very strong. It was a very present act. Those three women were, of course, all three very good artists.
Yeah, and
in
powerful.
themselves. And powerful, yes. So I think that really got to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But also the gay community, yes. Yeah.
She left the Divas project in 2005 and the Dutch representative in 1989, Justin Palmelay, became a member instead.
Yeah.
Do you pronounce it Justin Palmelay?
Yeah, Palmelay, yeah.
Okay.
Palmelay. I'll go for that.
Thank you. What did Sandra do in her life the last 10 years?
Mainly two things. First, trying to find a way to get back on stage. And secondly, her affinity to the world and to more specifically to children. There she tried to set up the Sandra Reemer Foundation, the SRF. Yep. And that was from 2006 to 2010 a very large part in her life.
Yeah.
After that, she tried to pick up her thoughts and tried to make with her thoughts a sort of way of a guide for people who were trying to find peace in their minds.
Yeah.
And so, like coaching things.
Yeah.
But she did not do the coaching courses or the certificates for that. She just thought, well, I can do this because I have experienced so many beautiful, but very many not so beautiful things in my life, and I have overcome those. The way that I overcame my own thresholds, I would like to share with others.
Yeah,
and that is what she tried to do. And I'm not sure if she was very successful in doing that, but I know that a few people, it was done at her house, the farm. A few people just kept coming back. So there must have been something that was attractive to this project.
Yeah. For those of us that sadly never met her, what kind of person was she?
Hard to say, I think, because I know her, of course, as my sister, and being together as the two oldest children of a family of 5 children, we just were brother and sister, right?
Yeah.
And so we loved one another, we quarreled, we have thrown things at one another, but we also played with one another in the woods or in things like what children normally do. And gradually, of course, she becomes ever more famous and travels the world. So in that part, her international capacities were okay. She could do that things. But there is always a backside.
Yeah.
And that made her, of course, cautious. That's the word, I think. Anyone, well, you will know that, a lot of artists who are really famous are cautious because you are not, sure what a journalist, for instance, will do with the information that you give to those persons.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can make it a wonderful story or they can make it a not so wonderful story.
Yeah.
So that formed her personality, of course, also. So there was a lot of, a personal struggle. Should I do this? Should I not do this? How do I do this then? Things like that were all, very much, part of her, view on the world. So I think that some people that have met her would say, well, she was not that easy. And I know if that is the case, then I think it is a normal way of an artist of that size, if I may say so, to be in this world. Everyone wants something of you. That makes it incredibly complex to be a normal, quote unquote, person.
Yeah, I totally understand. And after a short battle with breast cancer, she sadly passed away on the 6th of June 2017, only 66 years old. Besides being a great musician and a Eurovision legend, how would you like us to remember her?
As the best singer I know in Holland. That is what from the historical show business view, I would say, well, Sandra was the person who could really sing. What made her stand out was that she could sing the lyrics. She could sing the meaning of the lyrics. And that's why perhaps she had such a large audience. And that is because I think that she, you must have that in Sweden, like the Dutch artists that we have here, who made the really, folk songs. Like,
absolutely.
Like the André Hazes we have here in Holland, which is a very, very famous man. He is just a guy from Amsterdam who did not study at all, conservatory, nothing, but he could sing, songs and believe what he was singing. And Sandra could do that, if she had the song, A House Is Not a Home, from Burt Bacharach. There is a recording from that somewhere. And that is sung so beautifully because the meaning of those lyrics are conveyed on a proper way.
But a chair is not a house, and a house is not a home when there's no one there to hold you tight, and no one there you can kiss goodnight. A room is still a room, even when there's nothing there but room. But a room is not a house, and a house is not a home when the two of us.
If you go to a conservatory and you try to sing opera, then and you do some Nessa Dorma or whatever, then your teacher will say, well, this is the lyrics, come back in 2 weeks and tell me what this lyrics is all about. After that, you can start singing. And normal pop singers will just say, oh, that's a nice song, and start singing it. So the words are carriers of the notes.
Yeah.
And it should be just the other way around. That the notes are the carriers of the words. That is the message that you try to convey. And we know her as brothers and sisters. So well, she could be a little awkward from time to time, but she had a very warm heart. I was always besides her because we grew up together. I think I really know her very, very well, and I really know why a lot of things. Sandra was very alone, and I'm writing her story in a family tale. because the interactions between those 7 Reemer people, father, mother, and 5 children, is so compelling, if I may say so.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine that with 3 children, Sandra, Frenk, and Myrna, they get in Holland in 1958. One of those children, in the midst of the 60s, rises up and pulls up the rest of the family.
Yeah.
Right? That gave a very strange dynamics in the family, of course.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that were that Sandra gradually, how do you say that correctly in English? She gradually shut herself in her own world. So we got, me as her oldest brother, because we have another one, could not reach her. The last the last time that I had real conversations with her were in 2004, 2005. She was so sad because it didn't went well with the Dutch Divas, and she wanted to stop her life, and she was really, really sad. And so we had a lot of talks then, and just, talked, made some philosophies on life. And when we got out of contact in that period of time, I was very concerned. My parents were very concerned, of course. And we really could not get close. Eventually, in 2008, she started her foundation, and she was going upwards again. Yeah. With her health and her views on the world. So that became better. Yeah. And she was growing older, of course. I was also growing older. But what then happened was I got an invitation from the University of Applied Sciences to come and teach. And I told her that. And she was happy for me. That's oh, Frank, well, it's nice that you have that. But she was also sad because she tried for perhaps 15 years after the Dutch Divas to get back into the scene, but didn't know how. Yeah. So that was a very sad background for the last period in her life.
Yeah, and the backside of the limelight, I guess.
Oh, definitely, because she said and that was in the 90s already. She said, well, if you are too old, then they don't want you anymore. And I said to her, well, if you are too old, then you have a lot of experience. Share that with others.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't do that. Well, try. But she never did that in her trade. As a singer, she did not dare, I think, share her experiences with younger people. But yeah, that is a different trade, of course. Well, and I think that was not a very wise decision, but what can I say?
Yeah.
But okay, she tried, as far as I can see now, she tried really, really hard to get back on track again.
Yeah.
But by all kinds of circumstances, it did not work. At the end of your life, it is hard to get new commissions, of course. I will elaborate on that, of course, in my book. Yeah. Planning for the book will be somewhere next year. But of course, it depends on what happens with the song that we entered into the competition.
I cross my fingers for this project.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much for this nice and warm conversation, Frank.
Welcome, Emil. I was very glad to be here.
I am certain that this walk down old memories must have been very emotional for you, and I'm extremely thankful that you wanted to make this episode in honor of your sister together with me.
Yes, it was, my honor, really, really. And it is emotional, yes, but it is on the other hand very nice to share with so many of your listeners what my experiences were with a person, a character, a performer like Sandra. And if we have succeeded in bringing about that message of who she was, then we did a very good job, Emil. That is what she would like very much.